Gautama Buddha, the current Buddha, had a very simple description of feelings. Okay, too simplistic for many contexts, but really helpful for others, which were basically there are three feelings. There's attraction, repulsion, and neutral. There's what you want, you're getting what you want, going for what you want, enjoyable moments. There's, I don't want that. Stay away. I don't want that pain. I don't want that happening in my relationship. I don't want to miss that train. I don't, there's the attraction, there's the repulsion, and then there's the kind of neutral states. And it can be a helpful lens, certainly not a complete one, but a helpful one. And I think part of living this kind of meaningful life is learning to really relish and celebrate the gifts, the moments, and grow our capacity for that. I think it's one of the things that I very much encourage in people learning focusing is not to focus on problems only, but to really open to how our attention can increase our capacity for relishing life. And it's the same with the neutral moments. Neutral moments, for almost 30 years, I've taught workshops in gratitude and forgiveness. And gratitude is a neural network that can be grown. It's probably the easiest positive state that I know to grow for most people. And neutral states can become joyful states, enjoyable states, with cultivating the field of gratitude and learning how every moment maybe has a gift. Every moment has a gift, even the ones where you're sitting on the train and just waiting to get home. And that's something to do with taking responsibility for our attention. But then what about the not wanted? What about the not wanted? And of course, focusing is brilliant. Approaching ways, not way, but ways of approaching our challenging states. And I've learned so much through our shared practices. And I notice that there's a human habit of fighting, at least for a while, with what is. What is happening when what is what we don't want to be. Right? The not wanted shows up, and we go, no, not now. And that's, I think, a really understandable response, right? For we don't want pain, we don't want loss, we don't want disappointments, right? Of course. What I get interested in very much is when that fighting continues. It's an appropriate first response. And depending on the level of loss or pain, it will return, perhaps. But as we all know, if you fight with life, you will lose because life will win. What is stronger than our opinion, right? Our opinion of what should be. Like I like to say often in my seminars, the mail doesn't go to the wrong address. You're getting the life that you have. It's truly your life. It's not a mistake. And so somehow when we get that, when we get that more important, more powerful, more helpful than my preference is somehow opening my heart, my belly, my mind, myself to the reality of the moment. And really notice when I'm getting lost in my struggle with what is, which is not a very helpful way of learning from what is, of working effectively with what is. And again, I'm not, of course, there are moments of fighting and, in the fighting with God, fighting with life, saying, no, this is wrong. And we want to stand for justice and we want to honor that part of ourselves. Absolutely. So this is not about denying anything, but it's somehow creating a larger context than what I want. Somehow finding, not because someone else gives me that path or that decision or that context, but what can feel true, real, yet somehow includes my preferences but is not dominated by them. I love this powerful, powerful line from Dostoevsky. The thing I dread the most is not to be worthy of my suffering. Wow. The thing I dread the most is not to be worthy. And that's not like, it can be interpreted like good and bad or guilt or something. It's way beyond that. It's how do I meet life and say, after I go through my struggle with what is, how do I get to, yes, this is what's true? How do I embrace it, not only put up with it?